Hello everybody, nice to see you here and welcome. Today I'm going to think about the distinction between the two vowels open and closed e. Well, it's very difficult to give some clear-cut explanations on these vowel systems. And if I give some like textbook teaching, the two sound is a very different sound and clearly is distinguished from each other, and the proper way of speaking Korean is that you have to distinguish the two sound, and especially when the sound comes at the head of a word. If it doesn't come at the head of a word, we don't usually distinguish, and trying to distinguish is itself very difficult. You have to open your mouth a lot. So at the beginning of a word it's easy, or at least not that difficult, but trying to do that in between the symbol, in between the syllables, and after some had sound in a word is difficult. So we don't usually distinguish the two sounds when it is not in the position of first sound of a word. But when it is situated at the head of a word, then there comes a problem, because proper way of saying is that you have to distinguish it. Okay, let me give you an example. 대다, right, open S sound, and 디다, closed E sound. 에 is open sound and very it is very open sound, and it is the sound is made at the front of the mouth, so it's a frontal sound. And E is almost like E sound, and it is a closed sound and is pronounced in the middle of the mouth. So one is open and frontal, the other one is closed and middle. So it's very unlikely that the two sound will be confusing. But many Koreans, maybe almost all Koreans, just don't distinguish the two sounds. Why this happened? Well, I think it's because Korean government didn't give much consideration on this pronunciation. Like actually Korean alphabet was invented during 15th century by King Sejong, but until maybe 19th century we didn't use them much. Most people didn't know, and most elites, most scholars, most educated people use Chinese characters to convey, to deliver their messages. So, and even how to write properly and how to how to write properly, how to read it, and things like that was not developed. And Korean grammar didn't even exist. And today we use spacing between words, but spacing was not even our way of writing at the time in Joseon Dynasty. We didn't use any spacing, we just wrote it without any spacing. And what's interesting is that spacing was introduced not by Koreans, but by maybe American missionaries, something like that. They they needed to write a book on Korean language, and so they made some kind of sentence to sentence matching textbook. So because English was using spacing between words, so they used spacing in Korean language writing. So, well, before that, Koreans didn't even think about spacing was necessary. So after they looked at the spacing made by the Westerners, some kind of, I don't remember his name, but maybe it's kind of American missionaries or something like that. And when Koreans looked at it, they found that it was very good. It was very clear and not confusing. That was about 19th century, I guess. So, which means that Korean language grammar just started at the time. So, it's very, well, before that, King Sejong was trying to make out some kind of, to develop the Korean alphabet system. So, well, they actually studied Korean language, but there was mainly on pronunciation, not how to write, how to say is the best way, something like that. So it's a little bit like a little bit far from the grammar that we think of today. So, the Korean grammar is very young, and the science of Korean language is very young. So, virtually, Korean writing system starts almost from 18th century, or rather 19th century. So, what I'm trying to say is that we didn't teach people how to say, how to pronounce. And then in 20th century, Korea was under Japanese rule. So at the time, maybe about the time, the Korean writing systems just spread around the world. Maybe a little bit before the Japanese rule. So it was very close. So late 19th century or early 20th century, Korean writing systems spread out around the world, around the Korea. So, well, and then right after Japanese colonial rule, teaching Korean was not allowed. So there was no way that Korean people learned how to write properly, how to say properly, something like that. And then 1945, Korea was liberated. Korea became independent. So virtually the national Korean language education started from that time. And then there comes problem. The teachers were all over the world, in Korea, and mostly they were people in their local areas. They were not like 3-generation Seoul natives. It wasn't like that. So those who taught Korean language, those who taught Korean pronunciation, the teachers, didn't even get proper education on pronunciation. So actually, they almost use their own dialects. And then there comes a textbook, Korean language textbook. So they had to teach standard Korean language mainly on books. You see the problem? It's like learning Korean language through books, not audio tapes, something like that. So they learned Korean language only on books. And also we had some radio broadcasting at the time, but even that time radio was very rare in 1945, 1950s, 1960s. And even though they were able to access to radios, they just hear what they want to hear. So the difference between a sound and a sound was not very, what's that? Didn't seem to be prominent. Didn't seem to be standing out. So the teachers didn't teach, and the government didn't teach. Korean government didn't teach teachers how to pronounce a sound and a sound. So, well, it became just the way it is today. I think that at the time, Korean government had to teach the teachers how to properly speak Korean language, at least about the pronunciation. So, now we see how we have become lost in distinguishing the two sounds. Okay, now I'll give you an example of how to properly speak it. As I said, 대다, touch means 대다, 대다, 대한민국, right? The clear example of a sound is that 대한민국, 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 like that. 대한민국, 따단딴딴딴, 대한민국, 따단딴딴딴. In that case, 대한민국, people are opening their mouth. And the other way is like burn, 디다, right? 불에 되었다, 불에 되었다. I burned my fingers on the fire. 손가락 불에 되었다. Do you see? 되었다 means touched. 되었다 means burned. Okay. I'll pronounce several times. First one is touch, open. Second one is burn, closed. 되었다, 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 되었다. Okay, did you see the difference? Well, if you were native speakers of English or French or German or Spanish, I think there was no difficulty in recognizing the difference, right? Because most Indo-European languages distinguish these two sounds, the open a sound and closed a sound, like German a and German e, right? Almost all the Indo-European languages distinguish the two sounds. So, and another example is like 제기, present, to present, 제기하다, right? 문제를 제기하다, present problems. 이의를 제기하다, present an objection. In that case, 제기하다. It is 제기, 제기하다, right? 제기하다, 제기하다, not 제기하다, right? 제기하다. If you say 제기, I, open sound is 제기, 제기, 제기. 제기 means go back up, come back, revive, or some kind of talent, some ability, some agility, some smartness, something like that. So 제기 means present, to present. 제기 means to come back up, to revive, or some talent, some ability, some agility, something like that. And how about the name of the island, Jeju-do? Jeju-do. It's O plus E. It's close sound, so it has to be Jeju-do. Jeju-do. Little long sound. Okay. The open vowel A sound is short. Closed E sound is a little longer. And closed sound, and almost like very close to E sound. So Jeju-do. Jeju-do, right? And we still have some trace of it. The trace of a distinction between the two sounds, like 제가 means I plus subject marker, right? And some people say 지가, not 제가. Why do they say 지가? because in first place, 지가 the subject marker after 제, and in that case, 제 was closed vowel and very close to G, E sound. So some say 지가. So in first place, the closed E sound was very close to E sound. And before E sound and closed E sound have some tendency of being merged to each other. Unlike today. Today, it's rather open S sound and closed S sound have some tendency of being merged together. It's very funny. And what's more funny is that, what's more interesting is that Seoul natives, real natives, maybe 90% of the Seoul people are not native Seoul people. They're just from all over the world, all over Korea. So, okay, maybe 3 generations Seoul people, they seem to make distinction between 2 sound, right? Well, many Koreans, maybe almost all Koreans, think that we have only one sound, I, O, right? But actually, we have 2 sound, open sound and closed sound. And if you give very close attention to K-dramas or some news announcement, some news, then you will see that some people make clear distinction between the 2 sound, open sound and closed sound. Okay, some people say 정말, almost 정말, but it's like a closed sound, 정말, right? And also in Korea we have family name Jung, right? Jung. And we have 2 Jungs actually. One is open vowel Jung, family name, and the other one is closed vowel Jung. So in Korean or in Chinese character, 갈고리 Jung is Jung, Jung, right? And the other one is closed Jung, not a Jung. So, okay, someone's name is Jung, we can say 정성근, his name, 정성근, or 정내혁, his name, but closed Jung, right? Very close sound, family name Jung. I cannot think of any famous celebrity whose name is closed Jung, but actually we had 2 distinct sound of and 정정. The trace of it is 정말, right? Another example. Maybe the core Seoul people can distinguish the 2 sounds. Okay, because they distinguish the 2 sounds, they say 전화. Almost all Koreans say 전화, right? Telephone, 전화. But actually, it was 전화. Closed sound and longer sound, 전화. Okay. Not 전화. It's closed sound and longer sound, 전화. So you see, Korean language originally has some distinction between open closed, opener, closed. So before, because Korean language didn't have some tones to distinguish the words by, so we had some very diverse examples of vowels. We distinguished open S sound, closed S sound. We distinguished open O sound and closed O sound. Some people still make the distinction, like they say 정말 and they say 어른. Adult is 어른, right? 어른. They will teach you 어른. He's an adult. 어른, right? But, well, some people will still say 어른. And sometimes I watch TV and I hear people saying 어른, 어른. And then I directly notice that, he must be a descendant of a long generation in Seoul, something like that. Or at least he was trained in speaking that way. When I was in linguistics department, when I was a linguistics student, the phonetics professor just tried to teach us proper way of saying it, like 어른, 정말, 정내혁, 정성근, open 정내혁, and 정성근, something like that. And well, so it's very complicated to say anything here, because most Koreans will directly oppose what I'm saying. They will say that in Korean language, all the distinction between the two sounds that I have been presenting today is totally obsolete, and they don't distinguish, and they say that no Koreans will be able to distinguish, and no Koreans make any distinction in saying Korean. Well, I understand them, and many Korean teachers will say that way too. But I don't know. If I am teaching Korean, I will try to teach them how to say properly, distinguishing open 에 and closed 에, and open 어 and closed 어, like that. So we can properly distinguish 되었다, touch it, and 되었다, burned. So these days, when they speak and when they speak and hear, they don't distinguish touched and burned. Well, I don't know. Just this is what I learned, and this is what I observed, at least linguistically. So maybe next time I will come back and give you some ideas on why Korean vowels have lost so many distinctions rapidly during these about 30 to 40 years. Okay? Maybe next time I'll come back. I'll see you there.